Hello and welcome to the All In Leadership Podcast. I'm David Gadberry, and I'm so thankful that you've decided to join us. I love to talk about leadership. Leadership is such an important concept in our world today, and it doesn't matter what aspect of life you're in, whether it's what industry it is, what level of role you play, whether you're an executive or an employee, whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, whether you're a ministry leader or a mom or dad, leadership is very beneficial. Thanks for being a part of our leadership community, and we would love for you to spread the love. If what we're teaching and saying and the people we're interviewing is helpful to you, then share it with somebody else. Like that thing, comment on it. Hit that notification bell so you can get a notification every time we do an episode. And don't forget, subscribe. So what I want to talk about today is so important to leaders, especially organizationally. And that is execution. And I want to talk about it in the context of execution over intention. Leaders are not defined by what they intend to do, but they're defined by what they actually execute, what they actually achieve. You know, let's be honest, most leaders don't fail because of bad ideas. They fail because of poor execution. I mean, most leaders have a plethora of ideas. I mean, so many ideas, ideas that they're coming up with, ideas that people on their teams are coming up with, and many of those ideas are excellent ideas. And a lot of times we're really good at starting those things, but they really don't matter unless you execute them, unless you can implement them, unless you can finish what you start. They don't fail because of poor ideas. They fail because of poor execution. Too many ideas, not enough follow through, too much talking, not enough doing. Vision without execution just becomes noise. So let's talk for a minute about the intention trap. You know, leaders love to talk about vision. I mean, I'm just going to say I'm one of them. And I love to talk about vision, strategy, culture, growth. But here's the gap. Intention feels like progress, but execution is progress. If it's not implemented, it doesn't exist. Think about that for a minute. Man, we can talk about it all day long. I used to have a coach in football that he would say, "Gadberry, don't snow me, show me." And it used to make me so mad when he would say that, because we were all talk. We'd all get out there, man, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to win and we're going to beat and we're going to do. And he would just always bring us back to reality by saying, you can talk all that noise you want to, but unless you show me out here conditioning yourself, unless you run through these plays, unless you get get this playbook down to memory, unless you show me that you can execute these plays, then all that talk means absolutely nothing. And the truth is, it's very contagious to talk about strategy and to talk about vision and to talk about, culture. All these things are fun to talk about. They're fun to discuss. But the truth is, if we don't ever execute on them, if we don't actually implement those ideas, they don't exist. It doesn't matter how much you talk about them or how much you feel like is happening. That's the deceptive thing about leadership conversation, is that because we converse about leadership, sometimes we think we're doing it. I had a class one time of people that had been talking and discussing about leadership. Most of them hadn't done anything, and they were criticizing another leader. And I thought, hey, this isn't good. So I just started asking them, what have you done? Tell me about your achievements. Tell me what you've grown in. Tell me how you've accomplished this. And what I was able to reveal to them is that just because we can sit around and talk about leadership, and just because you're around leaders, makes you feel like leadership is happening in your life. It makes you feel like progress is being made, that you're moving forward, and learning is progress. But at some point, the rubber has to meet the road. At some point, execution has to happen, or all the stuff you think and talk and discuss and believe and motivate about means literally zero. How sad that we would have all this treasure and just bury it. And that's what's happening when we have these great ideas, when we have this great culture, when we have this great vision, but we fail to implement it. So execution breaks down a lot of times in organizations. Let's talk about why it breaks down. Execution breaks down for three main reasons. Number one, lack of clarity. Man, if I can't say anything else to anyone who's leading an organization, clarity is your friend. Clarity is your friend. And I love what some people are saying now, clarity is kindness. You know, a lot of times we feel like that being direct and being clear is too harsh or too straight. It makes people feel uneasy or uncomfortable. But the truth is, you're helping people when you're clear. Now, that's not a license to be a jerk, but what I'm saying is being direct, even though people aren't used to people being direct, it's the smartest and best way to lead, because there's no room for muddy waters. There's no room for confusion. Why? Because everybody's clear. And so lack of clarity causes execution to break down. If people don't know what to do, if they don't know when to do it, and if they don't know how to win, man, that's a problem. And if they're not clear about those things, execution breaks down. How can I execute on what I don't know what to do? How can I execute on something that I don't know the deadline for? How can I execute on something that I don't know what the win is? And it's funny to me how often that we will say, let's go, let's get it done, let's make it happen, but we're not clear about what it is, when it is, or how we're winning if we do it. So it's important for us to make those things clear. The second thing that breaks down execution is a lack of accountability. In other words, what isn't inspected doesn't improve. Listen, I believe in expectations. And I believe that expectations cause people to rise. Like, people will rise or fall to the level of your expectations. I believe that. But I also believe that execution happens and expectations are met when what you expect, you also inspect. Now, this doesn't mean micromanaging. And to be honest, I don't know what to tell you if you don't know the difference between micromanagement and inspection. It doesn't mean you go in and try to take control and run it yourself. Why do you have somebody to do it if you're doing it yourself? It means, however, that you go check up, you get reports, you look at it yourself, you find out, is it moving forward? How can I help? What's the problem here? Is there something I could do to make it move better? But if you inspect, then it ensures that progress continues to happen. So execution oftentimes breaks down because there's no accountability. Number three, the third thing that causes execution to break down in an organization is a lack of discipline. And leaders start too many things. It's not about how much you do. It's about how well you do what you do. And that requires focus and that requires discipline. So a lot of times leaders start too many things and finish too little. And so if you start a lot of things, but you don't finish a lot of things, man, you lose credibility, you lose discipline on your team. They start to be hopeless about getting anything done because they know, yeah, we're not going to finish this. We've started many things and we just don't finish them. So it creates this culture on your team of lack of discipline. So you as a leader need to become very disciplined and need to pass that discipline down to your team by starting and by finishing. So don't do too much and finish too little. Don't start too many things and fail to finish them. Make sure you're doing what you're doing and it applies to your vision, your strategy, your culture, but also make sure that it's not so many things that you can't do them well. You would be better off doing a few things well than doing everything mediocre. So remember that. So high-level leaders execute differently. Strong leaders simplify the plan. Now listen to me very carefully what I'm about to say. I mean this with all my heart, and it's not meant to be harsh, but it's true. Strong leaders simplify the plan. Leaders who are trying to appear to be strong complicate the plan. because somehow it's like professors I used to have in college. Like they didn't really want you to learn. They wanted you to see how smart they were. And so they would come in and complicate everything, overanalyze everything, make everything not just complex. Things are going to be complex. Problems are complex. You have to solve them. But really strong leaders learn how to take complex things and bring them down to simple terms and solve them in simple ways. So a lot of times when you have a leader that complicates everything, makes molehill or mountains out of molehills, this kind of leader is usually trying to prove themselves. This kind of leader is usually trying to appear to be strong, but isn't really strong. And it just helps them feel like they're strong by appearing to be smarter than everyone else. So it make it everything complicated so everyone else has to figure it out while you already know the secret. And the truth is, you're only hurting yourself and you're hurting your organization. Simplify the plan. Prioritize ruthlessly. You got to know what's most important. Don't make your people guess what's most important. Make it clear and be ruthless about it. That these are the things that are most important. The other things are less important. Communicate repeatedly. Listen, don't be afraid to communicate in different ways and communicate repetitively. Over communication is far better than a lack of communication. And just make sure that your over communication is clear communication. Inspect consistently. In other words, don't spot check, but consistently inspect. Come in regularly, see how it's going. So strong leaders focus on what matters most, not on most of the matters, right? We think being a strong leader is doing a ton of stuff. No, we should be working on the things that matter most. So let's talk about the power of less. It's an important thing to discuss because here's where most leaders miss it when it comes to execution. They try to do too much. It's just the bottom line. Man, in our culture right now, as fast as things are changing and as fast as things are moving and as much as people are able to do because we have so many conveniences, that somehow we've let that turn into do everything you can, all that you can, every time that you can, as much as you can. And the truth is that is literally a recipe for disaster. Execution thrives on fewer priorities. It thrives on clear targets. It thrives on consistent follow through. And you can't have fewer priorities, clear targets, and consistent follow through if you're doing everything. You have to pick and choose what is the most important thing for us to do. What is the thing we do best? What makes us unique? What causes us to stand out? What do we do better than anyone else? And focus on those things. Instead of trying to do everything, you can't do everything. So you have to choose what is it you want to do. So if everything is important, nothing is important. So if you come out of the gates and you're always starting things strong and you're saying this has to be done, this has to be done, and you make everything the number one priority, let me just tell you what's going to happen. Nothing's going to get done. Nothing. Because if everything is priority, nothing is priority. If everyone is doing it, no one is doing it. It's a thing that we need to understand. Less is more. So let's talk about moving from vision to action. Here's the practical shift. Instead of saying we need to grow our team, say this week we will recruit 3 people and schedule 2 conversations. Now you see the difference. And what is that difference? Execution lives in specificity. Let's get it right. If you want to execute, you got to get specific. So when we're constantly throwing general ideas around, we're not executing because no one can execute on something general. It has to be specific. So instead of saying, hey, let's grow our team, we say, hey, I need you to recruit 3 people and have 2 conversations beyond those 3 people with other people about the potential of them coming on team. Execution lives in specificity. So at the end of the day, your team doesn't experience your vision. They experience your systems, and your systems reveal your leadership. So this week, here's what I want you to do. I want you to identify your top 1 to 2 priorities. Then define clear next actions. Then assign ownership. Then set a deadline. Then follow up. No drift, no ambiguity. Just think of what your team could do if you were that clear and that specific on any project you're doing. Just think about how they could, what they could accomplish, how they could win, and how they could feel the running through the tape. You know what I mean? A lot of times we're just having our teams out there running, and they never see the finish line. They never see the tape because they don't have any specifics. They're not clear about what's going on. What are the goals? What are the wins? What are the specifics? And so execution lives there. Don't be ambiguous. Don't drift from the goal. Stay focused and develop priorities. So average leaders talk vision. Good leaders build plans, but great leaders execute those plans. And if you want to go in, all in, then stop adding more ideas and start finishing what matters most. Thank you so much for being a part today. I hope this helped you. And if it did, share it with somebody. Now go out and lead well.